All right, welcome back. And in case you're just joining us, you are just in time for a very important conversation that we'll be having this particular morning, looking at how our 47 counties are faring when it comes to addressing the matter of ethnicity and tribalism. There was a report that was released just recently by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission that is a bit concerning for us, and we will be discussing that. We have in studio Danvas Makori, who is a commissioner at NCIC, and also with us in studio Muhammad Ali, the governor of Marsabit County. We appreciate your time. And you're also expecting Wakili Hilary Sigei, Senator for Bomet County, who should be joining us for this conversation, just to break down what we look like as a country and what this means, even as we strive to really ensure that we have equality and address issues of discrimination in our country. But before we get to that conversation, gentlemen, once again, karibu. Yes, there's a lot that is happening in the country, and something that is closer home before we get to the politics of fuel and politics of other things, the issue of the catastrophe that now we are faced with. There's a picture on the front page of the Daily Nation this morning that really captures it well, you know, what families and thousands of people are actually going through right now. And I'd just like to, get your perspective, Governor. Maybe one of your county is one of the affected areas with these particular floods. And it started, they're talking about 2 weeks, but I believe for your county, it started even earlier than just 2 weeks. You have actually borne the brunt of this particular heavy rains for much longer. What is the situation looking like on the ground?
Thank you very much for this very important opportunity and to discuss this very important subject. We, as a county, have suffered very seriously under the ongoing serious torrential rains. It is unfortunate when it is dry time. I mean, during drought seasons, like we had very severe drought, we have a lot of sufferings in the region. Then when it is rainy season like now, because of the weak structures all over, we suffer the brunt again very heavily. Rainfall started about 3 weeks ago, very heavily, displaced many settlements, cut off many roads. It's only the highway which is safe, the highway from Isiolo all the way to Moyale, which is quite properly done. But all the other feeder roads are cut off in all the constituencies, the 4 constituencies. Like Samis, most sections are impassable. In Kargi, only 3 days ago, we lost a life. In a place called Loglogo, we lost another person about 3 weeks ago with serious displacement of settlements. In Saku constituency, CBD, we lost 1 life again. In a place called Shur, it's completely cut off, marooned. People have no access to food, no nothing. Place called Badanarero, even as we speak. Only yesterday, somebody who spent about 3 days on top of a tree because of serious floods survived only yesterday. So the situation is really very bad. A place called Lambalo is not reachable, and many other places. And I can go on and go on. So it's getting rather serious. Some places, people are starving. We are helpless. We want to probably hire helicopters to provide food. Unfortunately, we can't get any. They are not available, even to supply something small or even to rescue life. Like yesterday, I'm told all helicopters in the country are, supplying examination papers. So it's a really bad situation. I'm grateful to the Army, and it's unfortunate we witnessed some accident yesterday when they are trying to help people in Wajir. This morning they were scheduled to supply and provide foodstuffs to several places. I hope it is on schedule. So the situation is rather wanting. In my county.
Danvas, I know this is also something that you have been watching for quite some time. And, before we thought it was you know, a problem that is far away. But the other time, you saw what happened in Mombasa and concerns that were raised with regards to the drainage systems and how residents were lamenting, and sort of like was an eye-opener for our planning in the urban centers and what we need to do. How do you receive the news of how the floods have wreaked havoc in our country so far?
You know, something, what perplexes me is that this El Nino phenomenon is not new. We knew it was coming, not 2 months ago, not 1 year ago. For the longest time, it used to be in a 10-year cycle. I remember the big El Nino of 97, 98. According to the forecast, this will surpass that in rain amounts and probably even in destruction. Now, why I'm saying this is because we knew it was coming. It is within our cycle. It is always there. It is not a surprise. At least the governor of Nairobi at least tried to clear the drains. We saw that. That's small compared to the level of rain that is coming. We as a people, and this speaks to leadership overall, in terms of planning and anticipating, this is something that should have been planned way in advance. In terms of just drainage, you've had the good governor talk about the human catastrophe that is awaiting these FCDC counties. And as a country, knowing that it is coming, I don't understand exactly why we just didn't have plans and measures really to address that. Because what's going to happen is given course and also you see in other counties, what's going to happen is now the complete reverse, because after El Nino comes La Nina. Yeah. So there's still a weather effect phenomenon now with extreme with the current climate crisis. Weather extremities are amplified. That's why we're seeing this now. Fixing the drainage is not really that complicated. Okay. Unfortunately, sometimes politicians. Because it's not, when you do a drain underground, people don't see it, so you don't get the bonga points that umefanya barabara you've done at school. So it's not very sexy to do drainage and sewers.
Yeah, true.
So you don't invest much because people won't see that. You won't get you can't tell people nilifanya drainage.
Yeah.
No. You have to put your money where people can see. But now, unfortunately, it affects lives. I mean, we saw the coast completely flooded. I mean, you saw a bus almost fully flooded in Bamburi. I've been to Bamburi several times, and I don't understand even how that is possible. So it speaks to leadership, but in overall sense, I think as a people, we just ought to be better prepared. La Nina is coming. What are we doing? Now, all this water, ask yourself, where is this water going? I mean, I wish you see the water that is in Marsabit when it was about a month ago. When it started over there before now we got this attention, and Wajir and Mandera. I mean, so Mandera completely inundated. We ought to have structures and facilities to capture this water, because I can tell you, because I work in those regions a lot of times, when the dry season comes, now La Nina is going to be much longer, much intense. So if we thought the drought that we just hit, which he talked about, was bad, it's going to be even worse. So we know it's coming, but what do we do? So we are very expedient. We want the here and now, the cheap bonga points, but in terms of planning and saving lives and building a nation and building infrastructure that capitalize, because as much as a disaster can be a blessing, because you need this water later. But if we can't capturing, it's going to go to waste, and then now we're going to complain in the next 1 year when La Nina comes about the same disaster.
Governor, because I don't know, this is not the first time that your county is facing such a catastrophe. Yeah. What he's talking about, because even you have mentioned, we are crying about floods right now. We are coming just a few months ago from a very prolonged season of drought. What is it that you have identified as some of the missed opportunities? And probably as a governor, what have you done on the ground to be even put up structures to harvest this water now that we are having more than what we need, actually? Yeah?
Thank you very much, Madam. The issue of flooding, as we speak, is not only in Marsabit, it's countrywide, but specifically it is more severe in northern parts of the country where the structures, infrastructure has been missing in the rural settings. So this is rather a northern Kenya phenomenon that we need to ask ourselves. This water, which are now going to waste, what do we do, or what have we been doing? We know too well this water is very, very needed very soon when it is going to dry up and it's going to be hot. I've just said during the last concluded season, when it was very dry, we lost all our livelihoods. Okay, over 70% of cattle and livestock lost. So it's a cycle repeating itself. When it is dry, it's still a problem. When it is wet, it is this crisis that we are in. Now the question is, what do we need to do, or what ought to be done? We need to construct dams, right, to collect this water. Unfortunately, from county perspective, the biggest challenge is resource, okay? The resources that are available to us, once you take care of the critical issues, say the salaries and this kind of things, which you cannot stop, you know, those lines, you cannot stop funding because they are critical. You are hardly left with any room to maneuver other impactful programs, right? Other than the ones you've initiated, something like that, which are very critical, the services that you provide in the counties, in these towns. We need to do large dams. For example, Marsabit, we are bordering Ethiopian highland. There's a lot of water coming from that area, right? Passing through our county, going to west. We just watch helplessly. I think if the program suggested or proposed by the president in the nation of doing large dams, that is the only solution. So we know what we need to do. We know what we ought to do.
We have the solution.
We have the solutions. Unfortunately, we are incapacitated by availability or lack of it. That is funding. That is the problem.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. I want us to look at, you know, another story that has also really formed the center of a very heated debate in the country in the last few days. And this is the story of the back and forth over the oil that allegedly was imported into the country by businesswoman Anne Njeri. Of course, we've seen this revive the debate on the government-to-government oil deal and whether it meets the threshold and the promise that it gave Kenyans. We've had Raila Odinga, who is the Azimio leader, be very vocal about this particular subject, speaking about this. The latest update was yesterday when he was actually calling for the immediate resignation of Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir and the National Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u over the government-to-government oil deal. Of course, we also had the Busia Senator Okiya Omtata the other day revealing what he says is an investigation that he did that showed how monies were unconstitutionally withdrawn from the consolidated fund. And of course, that also saw the Ministry of Petroleum and Energy spend monies that go beyond what their budget was stipulating. Of course, a budget of 5 billion shillings, and they ended up spending over 40 billion shillings. But the politics of how this oil deal has been managed is what, as Kenyans, we are concerned about, raising more questions than answers. I'd just like to acknowledge Wakili Hilary Sigei, who has just joined us, the Senator of Bomet County. Thank you so much for creating time for us.
Thank you very much.
And of course, it would be prudent to start with you, Wakili, on this particular matter. Just to weigh in on what your thoughts are with regards to how this whole, issue has panned out on our faces as Kenyans. We are left asking more questions than answers. Who is telling the truth? Was money lost? This oil, who does it belong to? What is your assessment of how, this has been handled this far?
Thank you very much. And I'm happy to be with Governor Ali and Commissioner Makori here and to share also my thoughts on this issue this morning. I will not answer that question, but I will also give it a context so that it makes sense to us as Kenyans and also facilitate an appropriate response. Because I sit with my colleague, Senator Okiya Omtata, in the Senate. And as a practitioner of law, there is a maxim that says whoever alleges must prove. What does that mean? If you've got an issue with something, you bring forth that which prove that what you've said or what you've alleged is indeed true or not true. The story about this oil has been politicized. That is the most unfortunate thing, because we are all in this deep concern about the cost of living, and one of the biggest causes of high cost of living when we are very frank as Kenyans, is the fact that as long as the cost of fuel is up high, that directly affects every other item, household or otherwise. Now, the unfortunate thing is, of course, the fact that the government of the day came in and said, look, we definitely will not go towards the previous policy of subsidizing on this consumption. And I think that is the genesis of all this story, whereby previously, and as late as actually June this year, remember that is the story that Senator Okiya brought forth. We were still dealing with payment of the 169 billion shillings. That was a cost incurred by the previous government to subsidize the cost of fuel, but was never paid. And so, as to whether or not this payment was made towards paying that 165 unpaid facility that obviously was never fully disclosed to the public, is the story to tell, or the disclosure by the government that this is what was carried forward from the previous debt existing, and therefore we are paying, or the fact that we politicizing the whole story so that it becomes, the government becomes unpopular. That is where we are. The story about the lady involved in the saga, the CS for energy and energy, sorry, not petroleum, energy, and as well as the CS for treasury, have issued statements, including now the OMCs, that is the oil market companies, giving a position as to what exactly is going on. When all this is placed on the table, I and you can tell who is telling the truth. That is why I said I'll begin by not answering the truth, but putting the context.
Yeah.
Because the OMCs are saying, look, we had supplied during this period under a subsidized program, but no money was ever paid, right? Then when this story comes out and say now we have a 17 billion, I wouldn't call it scandal, payment, supply, product, and cleared. KPA gave us a story about how this thing is normally done. What happens from when you order until it docks in the port. So it is a political story that, unfortunately, my colleagues in the opposition are seeing it as the only thing that can sell as of now. You know, negative news sell because of the discomfort that all of us are feeling with the current economic status and the cost of living. It easily can sell, but when you look at now the explanations given by the Cabinet Secretary, given by the Kenya Ports Authority, given by the OMCs, you understand that this is not as scandal as it is being portrayed.
All right, you're suggesting it's being blown out of proportion.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I know this was not the topic we were to discuss, and I want us to shift gears to talk about what that we are here to talk about. But just as a final remark, Danvas, how do we prevent this from getting out of hand? He has talked about politicizing this whole saga. What would you tell the leaders who even are making these remarks in terms of just taming this particular issue not to get out of hand?
You know, yesterday I drove to your studios. I was at a radio station. Today I'm here. And the governor and the senator, maybe I don't know about them, but for me, I noticed there's no traffic. There was no traffic coming here. I came here very fast, so I don't know whether you saw traffic. I did not see much traffic, which is, especially on Mondays, traffic is horrible.
Depends on what time we left the house.
Yesterday I was like 7 o'clock yesterday. It was actually in Nairobi at 6 a.m. You just get traffic anyway. Now, why I'm saying that is, well, there's a back and forth within political space. The real Mwananchi is actually very suffering a lot suffering. Actually, they're really suffering.
They cannot afford to fuel.
There are no cars in the road. I promise you, I came here within 20 minutes. Usually it takes about 45 minutes to get to this studio. It took half the time because there's no cars at all. Okay? I was actually shocked. 2 days in a row, no cars in the morning. I've come here early in the mornings and I still get stuck with traffic. What I'm saying is because as far as the morning is concerned, 47% of Nairobians take matatu, 47%, okay, to back and forth. This city moves about 1.5 million people from the outskirts into within the city every single day. 41% walk to work. Now, that was about a few years back, that number will set to increase because whenever there's a small increase or even of 20 shillings on fare, majority of people cannot afford. Okay? So I want us to remind the leaders in that there's a Swahili saying that says, I'll translate in English, when two bulls fight, it's the grass that suffers. Yeah. So this back and forth, I can tell you right now, it's not really helping the common mwananchi. Right now, they just want actual measures to be taken, to be done, to actually address the real issue. The real issue is not but the real issue is the cost, and it affects them daily. So if there can be actual measures, because the more we talk, the more we're not busy doing what we're supposed to do. The more we back into this argument is not, I mean, yeah, I get it, and it's good for people to hold the government accountable. That is part of what we ought to do. But at the end of the day, leaders and people in both sides actually now have to come to a place, you know what, at the end of the day, we need to help this mwananchi. Now, the positive, of course, is always positive. Now, there's no traffic for us. But the negative is, I can tell you for a government, and Wakili will confirm, next year, the revenue, actually, even this quarter, there was 8 billion less collected on fuel. Yeah, because there's a neighborhood that I know, friends of mine, when everybody used to drive governor to work, now people carpool, they take, today they say it's the senator's car we are using, tomorrow it's the governor's car we're going to use. So now this are 4 cars off the road. You understand? Now it's good for the environment, but very bad for the revenue as far as it's concerned. So leaders need to understand the real picture, because at one point the rubber will meet the road, chickens will come home to roost. The cost will be way too high even to bear, and it's going to increase. You know, how fuel increases, how fuel costs, how it affects the economy. It's not just immediate. There's the ripple effect. It's a process. So about 6-7 months from now, the real cost will still be being borne. Even if fuel decreases, it takes another year before the cost decreases in terms of production, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of indirect input and to the cost. So that's the reality. So leaders need to understand that, hey, can we just do something for the common man?
All right, Governor, allow me to close this newspaper review there, because we want to get into our topic of discussion today. And it's about to get worse. Page 27 of the Daily Nation saying there are fuel and electricity prices to go up on the proposed EPRA levy. Of course, the levies charged on the 2 products to support operations of the sector are going to increase to up to double the current amount. You can read details about how this is going to pan out on page 27. But Danvers, they are saying there is a much stronger message that is being sent as, you know, the back and forth continues. Let's look at what Kenyans are really going through. Of course, we want to take a very short break right here on Daybreak. We will be coming back with our conversation for the day, talking about ethnicity in the counties with my panelists this particular morning. Do weigh in on this conversation at Citizen TV Kenya, at Safina_Ching. The hashtag is Daybreak. But for now, we take that break.